gentlemen. The 1970s was not a very good decade to be a TOS actor. If you starred in Star Trek TOS, as of the 1970s, you were doing butter commercials or really crappy low-budget movies. But amongst the fans, a TOS actor was still a titan of the screen. Duke Nukem is suffering something similar. When he's in a commercial game, he's a joke at best. But amongst the fans, he is still the king of the world. The Duke Nukem fan community is still active and very vocal, and the Duke Nukem modding community is still very active and very enthusiastic. And today, we're going to look at a mod that is the first proper sequel to Duke Nukem 3D.
Duke Nukem Alien Armageddon was created by Duke Boss and released on August 24th, 2018. Upon learning of its development, I watched that release date like a bloody hawk. Alien Armageddon would not be the first massive Duke expansion released in recent years, but what really set it apart from all others was the addition of Bombshell.
The big problem with Duke Nukem 3D mods is the fact that many just feel like an extension of Duke Nukem 3D. By adding in Bombshell, Duke Boss was able to expand the franchise and was able to do more than just rehash Duke Nukem 3D for the billionth time.
I cannot stress how important adding Bombshell to the game really is. Since 1997, we have only ever seen Duke Nukem take the fight to the alien bastards. Yeah, in Duke Forever and DHC, you got some horribly annoying EDF cretins, but we have never been given someone for Duke Nukem to play off of. Alien Armageddon advances the franchise in that it allows you to play as either Duke Nukem or Bombshell, and you can swap between them on the fly. And here is something that will make big-name devs really look incompetent. The Ally AI is actually good. The pathfinding AI could use a little work, but in most instances they will keep up with you, and sometimes they can clear whole rooms of enemies by themselves.
This is actually not a bad thing, as the game is difficult enough that you will welcome the help.
Your co-op partner is not immortal, and they can and will go down in the best possible way. And when they go down, you can revive them at the cost of your own health. It's worth it as they can hold their own, and most importantly, give the enemy something else to shoot at. If you are a significant distance away from your downed companion, you can teleport them to you for healing. You can control your AI partner by walking up to them and pressing E. You will get a menu where you can tell them to either hold their position or follow. You can switch characters, even though this is kind of redundant since you can just hit page up. Although this might be useful for PC gamer traitors who play with controllers. And you also get an option to change Duke or Bombshell's costume. The costumes do not vary that much, but it's still an excellent little detail. There are a few differences between Duke and Shelly. Each character will use different weapon models for some of the weapons. Duke gets a 1911 and Shelly gets a 357 Desert Eagle. Duke gets the classic shotgun, whereas Shelly gets the Duke 64 shotgun. The RPG for Shelly is the Duke 64 RPG, but instead of the normal exploding shot, it fires an incendiary round that does a considerable amount of damage over a wide area. And Duke, being kind of thick, loves to stand too close to Shelly's shots and usually gets set on fire. Duke still has his rather crappy freeze thrower, but Shelly gets her very own incinerator.
So wait, does that make Duke an Ice Queen?
Shelly also gets a throwable turret instead of pipe bombs. And let me tell thee this, there are several places in this mod where you will need to give heed to the machine god for his bounty. There are times where some indirect fire will be the only thing keeping you alive. The railgun from DNF shows up and is a boon of the machine god when facing snipers. And yes, this game introduces snipers, and they are both fun and annoying to fight.
The game boasts that it has new, higher quality sprites and new awesome enemies. And unlike other devs, this game actually delivers.
Many of the sprites have been improved, and the level textures are quite high quality. The level architecture puts so many modern games to shame. And the game's animations have been improved as well. You even get some brutal Doom vibes as the enemies explode into fountains of gore when blasted. Many Duke mods just reuse the enemies from 3D, and whenever a new enemy is introduced, they are either way overpowered or just a retexture of an existing enemy. Here, we actually have some cool new enemies and some from previous Duke games. You have the sniper, who does a shitload of damage from long range, and is an example of why I hate arenas. If this game just used arenas, we could not have this kind of long range combat. Next, we have some even creepier Octobrains that are even harder to bring down, and we have the new SWAT Pig Cop. They are positively massive and take a crap ton of damage to bring down, and even go into a Halo 2 Berserk mode when damaged enough. The Dukinators from DHC make a return and are really tough enemies, and they can do a shit ton of damage and can take a shit ton of damage, just as a good Terminator should. Each level features a massive boss battle at the end, with level 3's boss being positively frightening. In addition to Alien Armageddon, you can also play as Duke or Shelley in the original Duke Nukem episodes, and as you would expect, Duke Boss went above and beyond the call and actually added introductory cutscenes for the original Duke Nukem episodes, and actually programmed Shelley to have introductory dialogue for them as well.
Now you know if this were an EA game, that would be $20 Bombshell DLC.
And thus we get to Bombshell herself. She is fully voiced and can hold her own with Duke and can be even more explicit than the old Dukin. Her voice actress does a good job, although she could have emoted a bit more on a couple of lines. But that being said, she does sell the Bombshell character. Many of the lines are Duke Nukem lines, just feminized, such as Hail to the Queen instead of King. But there are just as many unique lines as well, including Teabag Taco.
I didn't want to know that was a thing! Thanks, Duke Boss!
Also, Shelley can regain health by urinating just like Duke, and that is even appropriately modeled as well. And since the Alien Armageddon levels are so hard, Shelley is never going to have to feel the need to urinate for long. When I live streamed this, the day after it was released, I quite by accident discovered this hilarious idle dialogue.
Just gonna stand there, huh? Not doing anything. Just standing there, maybe looking at your guns.
Wait, how did she know?
All told, Shelley is a great addition to the Duke Nukem canon and makes this game stand way out from the massive pack of Duke Nukem mods. Performance for the game is pretty good. I never had any crashes to the desktop, and the only reason this footage sometimes will dip into single-digit frame rates is not due to the game, but due to how the RX 480 really hates OpenGL. Not all ATI Radeon cards are like this, as an earlier card of mine ran OpenGL just fine, but damn does the RX 480 hate it. I did find a few glitches here and there, like here, towards the end of the game, this switch will not open this door, and thus I had to no-clip through.
But, overachiever that he is, Duke Boss released a patch 2 bloody days after the game came out, so likely this and several other problems have already been fixed.
Sound for the rest of the game is excellent, and Duke has a bunch of lines added to his repertoire, including my favorite, "Suck my boomstick." Music for the game is nothing short of groin-grabbingly transcendent, and in my opinion is far superior to the rather lackluster music of Duke 3D.
Now, let's take a look at the story for Alien Armageddon.
The story starts up with Bombshell contacting Duke about the alien bastards attacking Earth. Unlike in previous games where the alien bastards just attack, here we get a line about how they somehow shut down the entire EDF defense network. Duke jokingly asks if Shelley held down the power button. Then the aliens finally attack the Duke house, and it's time for Duke to do what he does best. At first, you can only play as Duke with Shelley showing up later. Level 1 is pure awesome. It's huge and sprawling with numerous secrets and references to find, including a rather creepy Super Mario. Halfway through the level, you link back up with Shelley and fight some epic bosses. Level 1 is a great introduction to the mod, but, and this is a big hairy bum, sometimes it goes on just a little too long, and sometimes it can get a little too cryptic, and the level can screech to a halt. Level 2 takes place in a flooded city, and you start the game as Bombshell. It's implied that Duke has gone on ahead as you find a broken auto-destruct symbol. Throughout the game, if you look hard enough, you can find certain plot details that tell you exactly what is going on. But if you happen to miss those, the game will at least allude to what is going on. In Alien Armageddon, Dr. Proton rears his ugly head yet again, and his fiendish plan is something straight out of Half-Life 2. Dr. Proton has struck a deal with the alien bastards. He will give them human subjects, and they will give him their tech and dominion over the Earth. It's up to Bombshell and Duke to be bad enough Nukems to save the world. You see little bits of Dr. Proton throughout the game, and the most effective bit is right here.
Did Duke Boss just turn Duke Nuke into a horror game of all things?
Maybe he did. Level 3 takes place primarily underwater and brings back Duke. I guess he was just chilling in this random cavern for some reason. For the vast majority of the level, you are left bereft of scuba gear, but thankfully Duke Boss is a fan of Sonic 2 because you can fill up on O2 by sucking up oxygen bubbles. Sucking aside, I absolutely love the reference to Sonic 2, and I would have loved it even more if Duke Boss had included the Sonic 2 bubble sound effect. Level 4 takes place in a tech base that is a great deal of fun to fight through and is bloody tough all around, and features a new close combat enemy that makes the Metroid jumping sound when it jumps about. It takes a considerable amount of damage to bring down. The final level is in the Hidden Base, and it is damn impressive from start to finish. It is here that you get some Dr. Proton taunts, and you walk through the Hall of References, and finally you enter Endgame. All throughout the game, you see Proton's hand in the current invasion more and more, and Duke Boss actually takes time in building him up as the big-ass threat he really is. And even at the very end of the game, you still have to wait a bit to finally take him on. When you reach the final boss arena, Proton taunts you and then sends some of his high-powered minions to kill you. And unlike in DHC, they are not just the same generics that you have been facing all game. Rather, they are some new high-powered boss-level enemies that are a challenge to defeat. And once they are defeated, then, and only then, does Dr. Proton attack. And he is quite fun to fight, and when defeated, he goes on about how he wanted to save the world, and how Bombshell and Duke are doomed because the aliens are too powerful to fight. Duke and Shelly shrug it off, and then the game ends with Duke and Shelly getting ready to kick some alien ass.
Please, Duke Boss, I'm begging you, don't let it take as long as DNF!
This mod is beyond top tier. This mod is the closest thing we will ever get to a proper Duke Nukem sequel. This mod actually advances Duke Nukem after over a decade of stagnation. As I've always said, characters like Duke and Doom Guy need people to play off of. In Doom 2016, when Doom Guy was trolling Hyden, people loved it because we got more than just shooty shooty shoot shoot shoot. In this mod, we get to see Duke actually be fairly funny, and while this is an unscripted thing, when playing as Shelly, we see Duke being the ass kicker we always knew him to be. Alien Armageddon is more than just a Project Brutality equivalent, it's a proper sequel in its own right.
Well, I guess that turned out pretty good. Wasn't it decent? Oh, you're still here. I thought you had already long since gone to download this mod and start playing it. Well, if you are still here, I, of course, highly recommend the mod, and I am Generallotz, wishing you good Doom Eternal and good Halo SPV 3, or whatever makes you happy.
If you enjoyed my review of Duke Nukem Alien Armageddon, please consider subscribing, and if you can, please consider supporting me on Patreon so that I can continue bringing you these awesome mod reviews.